Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Politics and Religion. And yes, it is good to be back after 3 weeks abroad. It's nice to be here with the microphone again behind the cameras, and glad all of you are still out there. I understand that the different individuals filling in for me while I was gone did a fine job. We're very thankful to them. We appreciate it very much. We just got back actually yesterday. Not only did we go to Israel, but to Greece and then back to Israel. I had a conference in Greece to speak at on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then back to Israel to take care of some business concerning our Jerusalem Prophecy College. I was able to actually teach 3 of the classes during this past week so that I was hands-on instead of remotely as we normally do from right here in our studios in Plano, Texas. So it was a wonderful time. Not only that, some really interesting developments. Let me just take a couple of minutes here to tell you about the tour. We had 75 wonderful people on the tour, 2 buses, and we found the 2 buses works very well for us because that way I get to be with a bus every other day, plus we all eat lunch together, breakfast together, dinner together. So we really get to know them and they really get to know us, and it works out really terrific that way. So we had a wonderful tour, and I can't really point out highlights. I mean, once you start talking about the Mount of Olives, the Temple Mount, the Jordan River, the baptism was just incredible. 36 of our travelers were baptized in the wonderful Jordan River, and it wasn't just a ritual. I mean, the wonderful presence of God came down at that baptism, and I know some lives were changed forever. So it was just a wonderful experience. We have something we've just been doing lately in Bethlehem. They've got a place called the Shepherd's Fields, and we found a little place to go down where everyone could sit down, and we review what David would have seen. Those are the fields he would have been watching his flock in when the bear came, when the lion came. Those are the same fields where the shepherds were watching their flock the night that Jesus, the angels came announcing the birth of Jesus, the Messiah, and they left their sheep with a tender, and they went in to find Jesus. As the angel told them, you'll find the babe wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in a manger. And sure enough, they found him there. So it's a scene that when you recreate it, it'll make your hair stand on end, frankly, but just a wonderful time. And of course, that says nothing about our boat ride out on the Sea of Galilee. We always go out on a boat called the Jesus Boat, and they always have good music for us. We worship, we have church out there, and we've got a little tradition that my wife, Judy, sings a special song out there, which she's done every year for many years, even though she tries to get out of it because her voice is somewhat worn out now from what it used to be. But nevertheless, everybody always enjoys it, I guess me in particular. Nevertheless, just a wonderful time with everyone. And oh, by the way, if you didn't get to go, but you'd like to go, we are going again this year. The demand is such that we're going again in November, and the date will be November the 12th through November the 23rd. It's a 12-day tour and just a marvelous time. So if you'd like to go with us, well, please just give us a call, 1-800-Endtime. Ask to speak to someone about the tour. It's all you have to do. Get in the list. I have a feeling this one's going to fill up pretty fast. So if you'd like to go with us, just call. They'll give you all of the particulars. So a great trip to Israel. Let me tell you about 1 or 2 more things that I thought was especially interesting. Most of you out there know that we launched an effort called Another Jewish Holocaust Fund. And our goal is to help Jews to leave wherever they may be and get into Israel before the Great Tribulation begins. The escalation of anti-Semitism is signaling to us that we're already in the prelude to the Great Tribulation. We want to get the Jewish people out of Europe, especially because that's going to be the power base of the Antichrist. There's 1.6 million of them there that have to get out. The sooner, the better. Well, when we launched this, we really launched it by faith. I didn't know exactly how to go about doing all this. I just knew if we could collect the money and get it built up so that we could help Jews to get to Israel, that would be what we should do. and I felt this deep in my heart. Well, I was able to meet with a lady from the Jewish Agency while I was there. And, I had estimated to all of our listeners, both television and radio, that I thought it would probably take about $1,000 per person to get the Jews out of Europe, get them into Israel, get them resettled there. And I was estimating a bare minimum of $1,000 per Jewish person saved. And, it was so moving to me that one lady sent us $2,000. And she said, please use this to save 2 Jews. The tears stung my eyes when I realized what kind of wonderful people listen to this program every day and also watch us on television. So what happened was I met with the Jewish Agency while I was there, and I just said to their representative, I'd like to know, how much does it take to get a Jew out of Europe or elsewhere and get them to Israel and get them resettled? And the lady said, about $1,000. Well, I was stunned because my estimation had hit it right on the nose. But she explained that when the Jewish Agency, they supply the plane ticket to get them to Israel, then they have a place, they put them up for 6 months and give them some income for 6 months, and also have a center to retrain those that need to acquire skills in order to be employable in Israel. Well, I was so happy that we were able to make that connection with the Jewish Agency. And so we're going to be able to funnel our donations through them and get a lot more bang for the buck, actually. So just wanted to make that wonderful report. I felt like it was all divinely orchestrated, and what a wonderful time it was. One more thing I want to tell you, because you realize I've been away from our studio here in Plano for the last 3 weeks. In addition to conducting the tour to Israel of all of our people, I also was asked to speak at a national conference in Greece, Athens, Greece. Well, I went there and I spoke on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Just wonderful people there. I actually spoke at that church last year. Well, this year they asked me to come when all of the churches came together for their national conference, and it was a wonderful and blessed time. The Grecian church there is just vibrant, alive, and wonderful. So anyway, a great time there. And then Judy and I flew back to Israel, where we spent a few days with our college and with the property there, making sure everything's on target. That's when I got to meet with the Jewish Agency. And so very good news all the way across the board. It just seems like God keeps putting the pieces of the puzzle together. So if you would like to contribute to helping Jews to get out of Europe, out of the Ukraine's one of the hottest spots right now that they need to get out of. And also Kenya is a place they need to get out of. So anyway, the Jewish Agency was telling me some of the hot spots, but then I was sharing with them. But I know from the prophecies of the Bible that Europe is going to be the most dangerous place for Jews in the not too distant future. And so anyway, right now there's about 6.2 million Jews in Israel, which leaves around 12 million, twice as many that are not in Israel. Now, fortunately, 6 million of those, 6.8 million of those, are in the United States of America, which probably is the second safest place for them to be. But we have many Jews. We have another 6 million that are scattered around the earth, 1.6 million in Europe, and they need to get out as soon as is possible. So if you're out there and you'd like to help them, simply pick up the phone and call us 1-800-Endtime, 1-800-363-8463, and just let our operators know what you want to do, or you can write to us also. Now, I want to get to today's topic because I was just in Israel. When I left here, Israel had no government. The elections were held on March the 17th. Benjamin Netanyahu won an unexpected large amount of votes. He captured 30 seats in the Israeli Knesset. However, those parties that are considered right of the center altogether captured 67 seats. It looked like it was going to be a no-brainer for these parties to come together and form a government. You have to have 60 seats plus one in the Israeli Knesset. 67 is a fairly decent majority, and it would be pretty easy to rule with that kind of a margin. However, just 2 or 3 days before the deadline for Netanyahu to put his government together, I think he had a total of 40-some days, and still 2 days before he didn't have the coalition finished, he looked to wrap it up. Well, Avigdor Lieberman, who has served as foreign minister under the previous Netanyahu government, but his election results were very poor for his party. Before they had 15 seats in the Knesset, this time 6. So they dropped badly. Well, Lieberman somehow felt like that he was not being fully appreciated, and suddenly he announces that he's not going to be in the government, nor his party, that they are going to move into the opposition against the government. And he used all kinds of excuses, but most people thought it was because he felt like he was somewhat irrelevant after playing a pretty sizable role in the decisions of the nations. So consequently, some people think that he's moved there attempting to find a way to recapture some of his old magic, because there was a time that most people thought that Lieberman would be the heir apparent to Benjamin Netanyahu, the next prime minister of Israel, which he certainly wanted to be. Now then, it looks like his political fortunes are falling. So consequently, this left Netanyahu in a position where he had to have the Jewish Home Party with their 8 votes, and that would give him a majority of 1. He would have 61 seats in the Knesset, which is a razor-thin majority, but it can be done because Yitzhak Rabin, as famous as he is, only had a 1-vote majority during his governmental time. So that means it's possible for it to happen. Well, finally, an hour and a half before the deadline, according to the Jewish law, Netanyahu had to call President Rivlin, the president of Israel, and let him know, I've formed a government. Well, he did call him an hour and a half ahead of time. After 42 days, the negotiations went down to the wire with the head of the Jewish Home Party, Naftali Bennett. Now, I want to tell you in the next segment what all this really means, because you know and I know, if you follow this program, that there's a peace agreement coming. When this peace agreement is signed, it'll mark the beginning of the final 7 years to Armageddon. So we're going to investigate in the next segment, what does all this have to do with the possible conclusion of a peace agreement? So we'll be right back. Stay with us.